Now we have another turning point in Israelite history. It is a shift from theocracy to monarchy. What's the difference? A theocracy is a land or a people ruled by God. And that's what the Israelites have been thus far. Theo, Greek word for God. Ocracy, the government of, the land of, the government ruled by. It's a theocracy. God is the supreme leader. Of course, the judges are not leaders of entire nations. The judges are leaders of specific tribes. So the leader of the entire nation is Yahweh. It's a theocracy. Well, in chapter 8 of 1 Samuel, the Israelites demand a king. They demand a monarchy. Mono being Greek for one person, a sole ruler in charge. We want to be like other nations that have kings that develop the military that can help lead us into battle and have victory in battle.
Victory.
We want a king that's going to build up our land. And Samuel is very offended by this. And Samuel goes to Yahweh, and Yahweh says, hey, don't worry about it, Samuel. It's not you they reject, it's me.
You're giving me the it's not you, it's me routine?
They constantly reject me. Going back to Adam and Eve, we can be like God. Going back to Tower of Babel, let's build a tower so we can be like God. The demand to shift from a theocracy to a monarchy is the same type of demand. We want to be our own king, is essentially the claim the Israelites are making. And God calls them out on it. God says, you are doing what you have repeatedly have done throughout our history together. You are constantly rejecting me. So Samuel makes a final plea. He makes a final plea with Israel, and he says, listen, if you get a king, he's going to tax the heck out of you. He's going to take your best crops. He's going to take your servants to have them go work for him. He's going to take your daughters.
We come for your daughter, Chuck.
They're going to take your daughters and make them perfume ladies and whatever needs, bakers, whatever they need the women to do. They're going to draft your sons into war. You will constantly be in battle, building up the military. This is not what you want. Believe me, this is not what you want.
You wouldn't believe what we want from you.
And the Israelites were not willing to listen to Samuel, and they say, we don't care, we want our own king.
I don't care!
It didn't help the fact that Samuel's sons were also corrupt judges. Not to be confused with Eli's sons, who were corrupt priests. Samuel's sons were corrupt judges. And what they were known for doing is taking bribes and perverting justice.
No, really, you're a pervert!
And so the Israelites were saying that judge system isn't working anymore. Everybody else has a king. To heck with the theocracy, we want a monarchy. And so God gives in, and God tells Samuel, if you want to have a monarchy, here's what it needs to look like. God needs to be on top. God is on top, followed by God's laws. Okay, God's the one who created the laws, he promulgated the laws. God, then the laws. Underneath the laws is the king. So the king must be subordinate to both God and God's laws. Underneath the king is the people. After all, you wanted a man to lead the people. So the king cannot neglect the law. The king cannot change the law. The king is subordinate to both God and the law. This is worth noting because Saul is going to violate this system.
Since when have the affairs of state taken precedence over the affairs of God?
So Samuel goes out to anoint Saul as king. And they used oil back then. They anointed the person by putting oil on their forehead. And this is where we get the word Messiah from. Messiah is a Hebrew term that literally means the anointed one. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Every king in the Hebrew scriptures was a Messiah. Fun fact, Jesus was not the only Messiah in the Bible. Saul was the first Messiah, David's the next Messiah, Solomon's the following Messiah. Every Hebrew king was commissioned by being anointed via oil by a prophet of God. They are the Messiahs. They are the anointed one of God's. Now, what makes Jesus different from these kings? I talked about this in the last season. Check out the episode on Messianism. You'll learn a little bit more about that when we get into prophets. But every Hebrew king was called a Messiah, and Saul was the first Messiah.